Yeah. This is for all you non-philosophizing black sheep, unwelcome, push to the side motherfuckers like me.
Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Ha ha ha. Let's get down to business. These bitches got glitches. And you thought you'd dismiss us? Nah. Now I'm laughing in stitches. See, the problem be, it'll be a tragic travesty to come after me. So just know this is how we get down. Respect that shit like a pronoun, bitch. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. And fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Your boy Oz in the building, and this is the first edition of What's Your Story Since Better, so it feels good to get back to talking to new friends about their story, getting to know them, and turn up the volume for all of us God-hating, sin-loving heathens. So welcome back, everybody in the chat. What up, what up? And I want to give a big shout out to Sandy. Do your life your way. Yes, yes. Do life, do atheism, do all that shit your way. 100. But shout out to Sandy, our newest YouTube channel member. And I did have my music queued up and then it disappeared. Uno momento, por favor. Cheers. Thank you, Sandy, for your support. Muchos gracias. All right, just a couple announcements here before we jump into our conversation this evening. First, tomorrow night, probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock, I'm going to have my chitlins, so it just depends on when I get them to go night-night. In our Discord, we will be watching the final, I believe it's a 3-part, yeah, so the final episode of the Netflix original documentary on the FLDS titled Keep Sweet, Pray, and Obey. And if you've got to catch it so far, first of all, it's some fucked up shit. And man, the power of indoctrination. Fuck me. It's crazy. So, and we've had some great conversations after viewing it. So if you got time tomorrow night, come hang out with us in the Tang Discord. We'll be live there. And then I had another one and I just forgot it. So we'll skip that. So I have a awesome guest tonight, and we were talking backstage, and it's always cool to chop it up and talk with a fellow ex-evangelical, charismatic, Jesus freak nut job that just it's the freak show, as he called it. So without further ado, let's get the proceedings proceeding this evening. Everybody, welcome David McDonald. What's up, man?
Hey everyone, how you going? I'm doing very well.
Good. I'm chilling. I've been looking forward to our conversation this evening. So first of all, before we get into it, tell everybody who you are, where they can find you, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, whatever it is that you promo, and let them know.
Yeah, well, my name is Dave McDonald. I have a YouTube channel under the same name where I discuss religion, philosophy, and science. I sometimes also pick on and troll flat Earth racist, anti-Semitic people, so that's always fun. And then I also have a channel called Deep Drinks Podcast where I have conversations with people like Shannon Q, ex-Mormons, ex-evangelicals. I even have some Christians on there. I have some Hare Christians on there. Anyone's welcome, as long as they've got an interesting story. And the guest chooses their drink, and we drink it together as we discuss a deep conversation. So yeah, that's awesome. And after this episode here, after TANG, we're going to be premiering an episode with Thomas Westbrook, which is a really fun one. We laugh, we get really drunk and laugh about conspiracy theories. So that's always a good time.
Awesome. Yep. And Haleigh, I can't talk tonight. Yeah, Holy Kool-Aid. Yeah, he helped a ton with the better, and then we had a great time just hanging out here in Fort Wayne. But it's already been a month, man, since we had the conference, which is mind blowing. It seems like it was like last week, but and I know that's way far away from you. And I was atheist pastor, and that's a long way away.
I was low key like jealous. I was looking at all like the pictures on Twitter and stuff. And I'm like, I'd love to be there. It'd be so cool.
Yeah, we had a blast.
Yeah, awesome.
Go ahead. I'm gonna stop. You go.
No, I was just gonna say that's awesome. It's awesome.
But when our goal is to by the holidays have next year's date announced. So that way, if there's people that want to come from even further away from than just the States, they can have time to plan, budget, that kind of thing. Give them plenty of time to do that. So if you can make it, obviously we'd love to have you. But let's get into it, man. So as I told you backstage, there's only one question that I come with pre-planned. So everybody that's watched What's Your Story before, you already know where we're going. If not, it's this simple. David, tell myself and everybody that's hanging out with us tonight, and I'll watch this later, tell us a little bit about what life looked like for little David growing up.
Oh, how to define little? Like how far back we going? How long we got?
go back to your childhood, like where you start remembering and recalling things.
Yeah, so yeah, I had a pretty, I guess pretty typical, unfortunately, childhood in that my family, my parents got divorced at an early age. There was some my father was a bit of an alcoholic, and there was a bit of turmoil there. But essentially, it was, as far as like making the best of a bad situation, my mother did a really good job. And my family is a lot better now, a lot more stronger now. So yeah, I guess from like an early age, like I would have a pretty typical childhood, but we were just poor, and obviously typical family drama, things like that. Nothing too crazy. I was never like beaten by my dad or anything like that. And my dad's all good now and everything. So, but yeah, it was pretty typical for Australia, I guess.
Okay, and
for lower class Australia.
Growing up, did your parents take you to church? When were you or your family?
Yeah, I guess like, so it's a bit of an interesting story, because like I started going to church like really young. I used to think that, how they used to have projectors and they used to like slide the words onto those projectors and like who would project the words.
Yeah.
I used to think that hand was God, like moving the hand that you could see moving, like the shadow, was God. And I used to think the man that would preach was Jesus. And I just would forget what he looked like each week. So I thought, well, we were seeing God and Jesus each week. So that was, I grew up in a bit of a funny situation, like with the church like that. But then I kind of drifted away from church and God in my teen years. And I kind of got like real depressed, became like the typical like 8 Mile, wear my hoodie, listen to hip hop and metal music, and walk around the school, kind of looking depressed and sad all the time. And then I got invited to a youth group when I was like 16 by 3 girls. I still believed in God at that time, but I wasn't like a practicing Christian or anything. And I went along, and I had like a really powerful experience that totally shifted my life and shaked everything up. Yeah.
So 16 years old, three young ladies ask you to youth group. Now just kind of the I guess humorous side of this. Now let's be honest, did you go because you wanted to learn about God, or that you got invited by 3 young ladies?
I think it wasn't because I wanted to learn about, like, that night. I remember I had planned to like just get like junk food and just like sit in my room watching movies and not do much. So, it wasn't like I had other options, So they invited me, and I was like, oh, it could be fun. It wasn't necessary. I wasn't into any of them, but I guess having 3 girls invite you to a youth group is a good way to get young dudes to come along. But yeah. But it was wild, man. That youth group, like that experience was like incredible. Like I was sitting at the back. They did the whole preach and all that stuff, and everyone's at the front praying, and they were asking people, for those who don't know, they do altar calls, and it's where they ask people to come to the front. And I'm in this youth group of like 50, 60 youth or something, and that it's all these youth at the front raising their hands and praying, and I'm sitting at the back thinking like, nah, nope, like I'm not going up there, like, or whatever. And I remember even praying to God, like, because I still believed in God, but I wasn't like a Christian. And I said, like, God, I'm not ready to live for you or whatever. I just want to do my own thing. Like I'll become a committed Christian when I'm 60 or something, like when I'm married and all that. And I was going to leave, and then I decided not to. And then someone asked me if I wanted to go up the front, and I said, nope, I don't want to go up the front. And then I was like, okay. But little did I know, there's a whole group of people at the front that were praying for me. And all of a sudden they just come, like all the kids from the youth group and the girls invited me. And they came around and just stuck their hands on my back and like essentially force prayed for me. But they were saying things, they were like, quote unquote, prophesying. So they were saying things that I thought they couldn't know. So I know you feel like X, but God wants you to know A, B, C. And it hit me like crazy. Like I had the typical feeling of salvation. I called it the Holy Spirit at the time. I was bawling my eyes out. I looked at a puddle of tears. I felt like a changed man. In fact, as someone in the chat now, Tom Does Tech, he said, Dave is so handsome, yum yum. He's one of my best friends. He actually knew me from before that time to after that time, when I transitioned from the depressed kid to what they call Captain Christian, and then back out of it again. So, but yeah, that's my story, I guess. So yeah, I after that experience, I became heavily like the church was everything, and people at school saw a difference. Probably an annoying difference because I was like preaching and everything, so to everyone, and telling people about God.
I remember hearing that in one of the videos of yours that I watched, and kind of circle back around here because I try to focus on the serious stuff, but also highlight the funny things when I hear them. Captain Christian, was that was that a self-adopted nickname, or were you bestowed?
No, someone referred to me as Captain Christian when they're like, oh, fucking, like, blah blah blah, and then Captain Christian came over and said this, and everyone laughed because it was so accurate. Like, I mean, I was running Bible studies at my like hangout at recess. Like, I'm like, oh, everyone check this out or whatever. Or someone said to me, one of my good friends, Chris, I think they're all calling God gay, right? They were saying God is gay, and I said, no, he's not gay. And I stood up on a chair, and I started reading the scripture in 1 Corinthians where it says homosexuals will not enter the kingdom of heaven. And I said, drunkards, divorced people, and I'm preaching from the Bible, like kind of as a banter, as like joking back with them, like, no, God isn't gay. He hates gays. It says so in the book. I'm kind of bantering. But at that same moment, the girls from youth group came down to check on me. Like, this is weeks after I had gotten saved. They came down and check on me, and all they see is me standing on a chair with a Bible in my hand, preaching to like my friends. And they didn't tell me, they didn't tell me they saw me. They tell the pastor, he preaches at a church and says, Dave McDonald was like standing on a chair preaching to his friends about the God's word. And I'm like, oh, geez, this is totally out of context. But yeah, that's why I got the name Captain Christian, and I claimed it. So like, my thing is like, I was picked on in school. I was picked on for being poor, so I used to claim that identity. You know, like I used to make a joke like, oh, I just moved in here, or walking past a bin or something, and I'd be like, oh, I just moved in here. Everyone would laugh. I'd make fun of myself to kind of like fit in, and that was the same with being called Captain Christian. I was just like, yo, I'm Captain Christian. Like, do you want to read the Bible? Like, and that was like my thing. Yeah. So
I'm going to assume, and welcome. It's the first time I see your name, so welcome to the stream. But I'm going to assume this is one of your friends or followers.
No, I have no idea.
Very fitting.
Although I told the Discord channel, I said, hey, I'm going on TANG in a few moments. Make sure you come into the in the chat and bully me. So that's what we might get some interesting comments coming along.
If you or anyone knows TANG, we're all about the fun. So
yeah.
So I do want to circle around, and I'm going to play Atheist Psychic.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to channel my atheist psychic abilities and guess what these folks were saying to you when they came and laid hands upon you.
Ooh, okay. Can you use Hitchens as like a way to the atheist spirit world? Yeah, because he's passed, so you can probably communicate with him, I'm guessing.
Yes, that's usually my go-to. Now, if he's asleep or something, then I find other channels. But I'm going to guess it went a little something like this. David, we know you feel alone, or we know you feel like sometimes life is hopeless, or sometimes you wonder why you're here. What's your purpose?
Okay, I'm not gonna make facial expressions because I don't want to I just want you to. I'm just gonna try and stay. I'm not gonna lead you. Okay, go.
I actually looked away from the screen for that reason.
Okay.
Away from the camera. And there's probably times that you're in your bedroom alone at night, and you're wondering why you should keep going or why you should keep living. But we're here to tell you tonight that God has a purpose and a plan. And if you will just acknowledge that Christ died for your sins, and because he loves you so much, David, you won't have to worry about those lonely times anymore. You'll always have a friend, and a friend indeed. Okay, I'm done.
That's I mean, to be fair, I don't remember specifically what they said because I was 15 or 16, but that sounded spot on. And also, like, is that like I would have said that stuff, you know, like I used to do the altar calls, and I knew what to say, like you know, everyone bow your heads, and because I we'll go into it a bit further, I guess, and getting tongue tied. We'll go into it, but I became a youth pastor at that same church, and I went through ministry college, and that's awesome. And the thing that I used to do when I was preaching is I used to go, everyone close your eyes, and I want you to, we're gonna talk to God. And then I would talk to God in front of everyone in a really casual way, because that was my thing. Like, hey God, just, you know, hey Father, like, and I would talk to God, and then I would say, you know, there are people here tonight that feel XYZ, and they need to, and God wants you to know A, B, C. If your heart is beating fast right now, that's God calling you. That's the Holy Spirit calling you. And I was like, I want you to put up your hand anytime in the next like few minutes, right? And then I evolved it. I eventually said, at the count of 3, I want some, if you feel God calling you, I want you to put up your hand. And then I would go, 1, God loves you. He's got a purpose for you. There are angels in heaven calling your name right now. 2, you feel something, you got goosebumps, and then I'll be like, 3, put up your hand, and then everyone's putting up their hand. And then what you do is, because everyone's got their heads closed, you'd call them up the front for prayer, right, at the end. But you got to reaffirm, like, there's so many people who are coming out here to get to feel the Holy Spirit, to feel God's presence, and they would all come, you know, because you're reaffirming it, they would get that last boost of confidence to come out. and this isn't a secret either. This isn't like, I'm not like expelling the secrets of Pentecostal Christianity. Like, we were taught this, and we were always taught that, especially like in ministry college, that a preach is like getting people to walk to the end of a diving board, and the altar call is getting them to jump off into God, right? So like that's the idea, and God does all the work.
Well, I mean that's scriptural. I mean, we plant the seeds and God provides the harvest. So and if we can hang out there for a second, because I enjoy now studying the psychology / the emotional manipulation of that practice. Because if you think about it, the entire service, whether you're there, if you're a fake Christian, you're there for 45 minutes to an hour. If you're a real Christian, then you're there for like 2 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kidding, Christians, when you watch this. But they start off with this, are you a musician at all?
No.
Okay. So the reason I ask is my mom was a praise and worship pastor for 20 something years. And so the service starts off with all this energy, as for musically, major chord driven music, the energetic, and then there's this, digression in tempo, right? And then either the worship leader or whoever's going to lead the next song, steps up, and they start to give all the admonishing, and we're here to praise the Lord. And then we suddenly slip into minor keys, which are more melancholy, emotional driven, music and patterns and chords and what have you. And then they kind of give you this cliffhanger, and the preacher comes up and does his thing, and all of a sudden the music starts again. Well, now we're circling back to where we started, right? But now we're injecting this plea or this call to salvation, and that this is why you need it, because you are broken, because you were born full of sin. You are a sinner in need of a savior, and you could die today, you could die tomorrow, you could die a year from now. But do you know whether you're going to heaven or to hell? And it's that complete, like I said, psychological game and emotional manipulation that I'm like, this, and I'm exaggerating here, but this should be illegal. This type of manipulation, this type of emotional chess match, like should be so far off limits, because you're literally just toying with people and you're throwing them all of this bait, but there's no evidence, there's no good reason to believe that there's this salvation, that there's this eternal damnation, that there's this heaven, but they use the emotion as the building block into the indoctrination. And then once they have you around the finger, they just twine and wrap, and that kind of what's the word I want? The constriction begins, right? Where the bite model comes in, where they're controlling behavior, thoughts, who you hang out with, who you don't hang out with, and then and then we could spend an hour talking about the rest of it. But I thought it was interesting you brought that up, because like the whole countdown thing, that's all psychological, and it's you're playing your own hype, man. One, there's a God and he loves you. He's here for you. He wants to, in your deepest, darkest moments, he wants to scoop you out of that. Two, are you ready to know him today? Do you need that hope in your life? Do you need that restoration in your life? Three, now's your time. Now's your, and they build it up, and it's like, yeah, it's a game. Anyway, your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not a musician. I used to make my dad used to have a little studio though, and me and my friend used to make Christian rap songs that got deleted. I wish I had them. They were the cringiest things ever. That was so good. We would take like 50 Cent songs and like change the words to like 2 Christians in the front, 2 Christians in the back, like I'll whip your head, boy, or whatever. Like, oh geez, it was so bad. I wish I had the tapes, but but I am
You guys did a Christian, like, I would call that a parody of 50 Cent, I'll Whoop Your Head Boy.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It was like something like, we didn't use the same beat, but we used like the lyrics. So it's like, you know how he's like, I don't say the N-word, but 2 N-words in the back, two N-words in front, 2 N-words in the back. That's 4 N-words. I don't know. But anyway, we would say 2 Christians in the front, 2 Christians in the back. That's 4 Christians praying in tongues of rap. Oh geez, it was the cringiest stuff. And we called ourselves, like, it was a bit of a piss take. Like, we were just mucking around. We weren't trying to be serious. We called ourselves like Gangsters of God, and it was the cringiest thing. Like, we knew it was cringe. We were trying to make it cringe. Like, it was good. But I'm not a musician besides that and playing a few chords on a guitar, but I did study film. And one thing I picked up in film school, I never like completed film school, story of my life, but I remember one of the things they do in movies, like you can see it heaps in Back to the Future, is they play the main theme song is like quite direct at the start and then little bits throughout, like it just little like when something interesting happens, it plays a little like quip of that theme song, and then at the end, at the climax of it, it plays that theme song like full, like really hard again. And what you just said there reminded me of that process, right? Like, you go to church each week, you hear those music, but then you have this gap where you're told probably a pretty boring preach if it's a typical Sunday service, and then at the end you get that full worship moment again. And like, once again, what you said though is not a secret. These things are taught. My wife was a worship leader. She sings at Noosa. She used to sing at Noosa Christmas carols in front of 5,000 people. These things aren't secrets. They teach them in worship camps. They say, oh, this chord actually brings in these types of emotions, and Christians don't go like, well, that's dishonest. They go, how awesome, this is awesome, we can use these chords to bring people to God. And that's what, like, I have friends who used to think that, and now they look back and they go, it's a little weird, like it seems a bit manipulatory.
It absolutely is. And I believe it's shout out to Drew, Genetically Modified Skeptic. He actually has 1 or 2 videos on his channel about the emotional priming that happens during praise and worship up front, but then especially at the back end of the service when it's time for and you had the same name for it that we did, the altar call, the call to salvation, yeah. And and I remember well, I'll say this, and I'll ask you a little bit of your experience. We might be skipping ahead a little bit, but that's okay. Like I said, this is all organic. For 2, I think I did 2 or 3 stints of this, but the church I attended in Columbus, Ohio, the pastor was formerly one of the, I guess, associate pastors or whatever you want to call them, to Rod Parsley at World Harvest Bible College, which most people are familiar with, at least in the U.S., familiar with Rod Parsley. And he had a class that he taught, and like you had to go, you had to come to class. There was homework. Like, it wasn't just like you come and we draw pictures while he talks. Like, you had to do the homework, and to get the certifications, you actually had to have studied and known what you did. And he focused on Romans and the call to salvation. And by the end of it, you were supposed to be able to, yes, pass the test, but also it was either 2 or 3 minutes where he would give you a like a situation that you're in. Like, say you got, for whatever reason, you got invited to like give a call to salvation or a message at the Super Bowl, and you have 3 minutes. It was 2 or 3 minutes, but you have 3 minutes to give a call to salvation to all these people. Can you do it in 3 minutes? And you literally had to have it from be able to go from, the original sin, take them from original sin all the way to, the propitiation of sin and salvation, and why Jesus is the way, the truth, and life, and no one gets to the Father but through him. And do you today want to have a relationship with Jesus Christ? And you had to be able to get through all that shit in 3 minutes. And you want to talk about some of the games you had to play to get from A to B in 3 minutes, because you and I both know, we've studied this. That's not a 3-minute conversation.
Yeah.
That's a long conversation. So I look back and I think of that in the times that I actually, took quote unquote Bible classes to do that. What was your experience as far as how you were taught to relay that message, that maybe you look back at it now, it's like, yeah, that might have been either a little bit dishonest or just blatantly dishonest?
Well, to be fair, like one thing about me is I'm pretty honest with with everything. Like it's almost a problem of mine. But I will say that I never was taught any like techniques like that. You just kind of pick them up, and I guess the church rewards you for picking them up. So like no one taught me like these are the things you need to say or do or anything like that, but I would see people doing them, and then if I started doing them, people would respond better, and then I would feel like fulfilled. So there was no like, I did do a year of ministry college though. I actually pulled out the certificate here. Here's my certificate for in Christian ministries.
Let's see.
So I pulled it out because I actually forgot what my certificate was in. I wasn't sure if it was in ministry and leadership or ministry college, but yeah, I completed that in 2009, and that was a fun one. It was a year full time.
And so your most of what is as far as we're talking specifically about kind of the call to salvation, the altar call. Most of your gathering of that and how you presented that message, then you were it was kind of a hodgepodge. You were like you would hear this from this person, this, and then you kind of brought that into your own.
I think I went to the Hillsong Men's Conference in Sydney in 2007. It might have been, and I heard the counting, and that's where I was like, "Oh, I'm going to start doing that." I got the speaking to God like a best friend from John Bevere. I was obsessed with John Bevere, and he used to always go like, daddy or father. I don't think he ever said daddy, but he'd say like father, or no, he would refer to himself as son. And then God said to me, son, have you thought about this? Like, so I got the father-son dynamic a little bit from him. I never referred to myself as son, I don't think, but you just pick up things, yeah.
Bevere so I didn't mean to cut you off. Bevere definitely said daddy. My mom was a huge John Bevere fan, so he definitely
he didn't say daddy. No,
he absolutely.
No, really?
Daddy God. He called him daddy because he did that. And then what's his name down in, I want to say Arizona, what's his name, y'all in the chat help me, from Saddleback Church, he did the Purpose Driven Life.
Phil,
what's his name,
Phil Pringle? No.
Anyways, somebody will say it in the chat. Purpose Driven Life, but I can see his face, I can't remember his name.
Rick Warren.
Thank you, Rick Warren. Because Bevere kind of initiated the whole daddy thing, and then like he took off with, then there was other pastors that started saying daddy God daddy, and I'm like, this is getting even more weird by the minute.
I just love that that's become like a sexual thing now, and like going back to maybe God is gay. Going back to my friends in high school, like, he wants his followers call him daddy. No, but he's not gay. He hates gays. No, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say things like that. But he there's the other thing too. There was have you ever heard of Planet Shakers?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I had friends who worked at the Planet Shakers conference, and we snuck in backstage with Reggie Dabbs and all that stuff. Like anyway, one of their songs when I first became a Christian, I was listening to their album He's King or something. I can't remember which one it was, but there's this one song on one of their albums that's like it's like, Jesus, I'm in love with you. Teach me your words, teach me the word of truth or something. Teach me to love. Anyway, but it says, I'm in love with you. And I remember like I was riding my push bike to where I worked at Woolworths, a supermarket. And I remember thinking like, that's too far. Like in love with God, or Jesus, that's the words "in love" didn't feel right to me. But sure enough, give 6 more months of indoctrination, and I'm like, I'm in love with you. Like I was all about it. So yeah, Daddy.
Daddy God.
Oh,
it's
so offensive to any Christians that are listening.
but see, when you're in the middle, when you're smack dab in the middle of your fucking indoctrination, you don't realize how weird the shit you're singing is. Like there's a song, and I wish I could remember the name of it, but there's a song, and it was actually one of my, I'm a drummer, and it was one of my favorite songs to play on the drums during praise and worship service. Now, being a drummer, I didn't really pay attention to a lot of the lyrics. It was, I need to be on the 2s and the 4s, make sure that everybody's staying on beat. And it was one of those that after I started to question and doubt, I started all of a sudden I'm paying attention to everything right now. Now I'm even paying attention to what the fuck we're singing. And this one was like, now when I look at it, it's like, we're literally talking about making love to God. That's what this sounds like. It sounds like we're trying to like seduce God into having sex with us, you know? And it's like, this shit is so fucking weird, you know? And I would say between Hillsongs and I'm trying to remember the other group that my brother's church pulled a bunch of from, but
I'm gonna say the word, but if it is, I'm going to cringe so hard. Bethel. Oh, I fucking hate Bethel. Like, not like, okay, maybe Bethel's okay, but we had this group of people in the church that I called the Bethelers that thought that Hillsong was trash, Planet Shakers was trash, and they thought that Bethel was the one true church, and they would run around with like anointing oil, rubbing oil on everyone's foreheads in the middle of a service, and he was like, fuck off. Like, they were just so obnoxious. Oh God, sorry. But you're bringing back, this is traumatic. You're bringing back all these memories, this conversation.
It's it was them, Bethel, and then there was another one that'll come to me in a second. But yeah, I look back now, and there's so much content in those songs that once I started actually doing the research, y'all, you're not even singing about the Bible. You're not even singing about the God that the Bible describes. You're so far off base, you don't even realize how far off base you are. Like, it's fucking nuts, bro. But yet these pastors are like, it's doing its job. Their hands are in the air. They're coming to know the Lord, and most importantly, they're putting money in the basket. They're doing fucking job.
They're putting their seeds, their first fruits or whatever. Yeah. There's also, you know, the song "Blessed Be Thy Name."
Yep.
Blessed be the name of the Lord. I'm a bit tone deaf, so I apologize for that. But the that song, I remember one of the staff members when I was on staff, she said, I don't sing the lyrics to that song because one of the parts of the song says, He gives and takes away, He gives and takes away. My heart will always say, Blessed be the name of the Lord. Anyway, she disagreed with the He gives and takes away. And I was like, well, and then I remember like later on, I was like, wait, that's just a quote from the Bible. Like, that's just like literally a psalm or a proverb, or I think it could be Job, but I'm pretty sure it's a psalm or a proverb, like He gives and takes away. So I was like, she was just not agreeing with the Bible at that point. It's like, and she's stumped. Like,
the irony.
Yeah.
I looked it up. The other one, because it was driving me nuts. The other one was elevation worship.
Yeah, they slapped. I like elevation worship. I think I like one of their songs anyway.
Their instrumentation is like bar none, hands down, as far as the Christian music genre. Their musicians are hands down the best. Like they're the best you're gonna find. And don't get me wrong, their vocalists are amazing too, but they're actually probably on the furthest side of none of their lyrics lining up with anything in the Bible.
Yeah. I think there's only one song I know of, I think, that I can remember of Elevation Church, but I remember when I first listened to it, I was like, this is a good song. But I can't remember what it was. Did you like Hillsong United?
I wasn't. See, here's the thing: when you grow up in a household where your mom is a praise and worship pastor, and she recorded and released her 2 of her own Christian albums, worship albums, you get to the point where it all sounds like the same song over and over. So like once Hillsong and Bethel came on, I was like, I don't know why you guys are so impressed by this. I've heard this shit my entire life. It's the same 3 or 4 chords saying bow down and worship God. It's the same shit. You know, and I think that's where Elevation kind of changed it up, is because they introduced a lot more different types of instruments. So not maybe still the same chords, but they started bringing in like different instruments from maybe different countries or different cultures, and it completely revolutionized their sound. Where now they have different dynamics and things built in to where your standard worship band was guitar, bass, drums, piano, maybe an organ, and then like 20,000 vocalists. 20,000. I'm not exact. No, I'm kidding. But if we go back to the experience, so at 16, then we're gonna mash the gas, because this is the part I'm most probably most interested in asking about. So at 16, you have this experience, people praying for you. You had the laying on of hands and the prophesying, and you had that experience. What then kept you convinced? What kept you involved after that?
It's cutting out. I can't hear you. I can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Better. Okay.
It might be my headphones. So if it happens again, I'll restart them. But
yep.
What kept me convinced?
Yeah, after that experience, what kept you hanging on to that?
Yeah, so it was interesting because what happened was I went to work that weekend, and I was a bit like all over the place. Like I felt drunk for about 2 days. And then on Monday, I kind of come to school, like not thinking a huge amount about it. But one of my friends, Chris, he says, "Oh, I was talking to Rachel on MSN, and she said you gave your heart to God on the weekend on Friday night." And I was like, and I thought to myself, like, no, I didn't. What? Like, I like it hadn't clicked already, right? And I was like, no, I hadn't. And then he's like, yeah, you did. And I was like, and I thought to myself, like, yeah, no, I did. I gave. And then once again, I did that thing. I pushed back into like, okay, yeah, I am poor. Yeah, I am a Christian. I was like, yeah, no, I did give my heart to God. Like, yeah. And then I guess after I kind of just claimed it and people were giving me shit about it, I started to actually think about like, well, maybe this is a good opportunity to get, like, I had that spiritual experience. Maybe I'll keep going back to this youth group. And only 3 weeks later was a youth camp. And that was like the solidification of, like, there's a few things. One, the lady that I worked with that I used to work with on Saturdays was like a diehard Christian, but she was a bit crazy, like a crazy Christian. And she would always talk to me about how the Kenneth Copeland watching, she would always talk about the end times, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, so we would talk all Saturdays, but then I went to the youth camp 3 weeks later, and that youth camp was just, in regards to like things that were happening, it was just insane. Like just whack stuff. Like people like having what seemed like seizures for like 3-4 hours. You know, us having to carry them up from where they got baptized to like, you know, I remember going back into a room and everyone would pull their mattresses off their beds and put them on the floor because everyone was like falling around. Like these are teenagers, all teenagers. There's only like 2 or 3 adults, 50 of us out there, and they're all flopping, falling around, shaking. We're praying for this one girl who had a blind eye, and we're praying for her eye, and her eyes go all dark. I'm running around the room like as a new Christian, pretending to paint the blood of Jesus on the walls. People are speaking in tongues. I'm speaking in tongues. Like it was just, this is like a weekend of this. And I come back like a fucking chain, like holy shit, like we're in an actual spiritual war and we need to like save my friends. And we'd even, you know, some of us would even sit down like, okay, like let's try and have like a competition. How many friends can we save? And things like that. And just to shout out Tom Does Tech again, who, one of my best friends, just reached 10,000 subscribers, is in the chat. He does tech videos, but he mentioned to me, him and Chris mentioned to me, Yeah, it was like every time you spoke to us, you were trying to like get us, like convince us to come to church or get us to be saved or something. And then like, and Chris said, I know you wouldn't do that though. So like, you know, and I was like, no, I absolutely was trying to do that. Like I was die hard trying to get you to like come to know Jesus to get saved. Yeah.
Man, I remember those. How can we compel our lost, dying, sinful friends to come and know this wonderful Savior?
Yeah.
And every idea we had was awful. But so you obviously did there's something there was something within David that you either wanted or you felt like you needed this thing to be real or at least serve a purpose in your life. There was some reason there. Do you know what that was?
So I think there's a couple elements. I think I'm pretty introspective, and I think that there was the spiritual aspect of it, the emotional aspect of it, which we can get into how I reconcile that right later. Like that's a hard thing to reconcile those things, because I remember looking at my convulsing friends and seeing my praying people and then passing out and saying, I can never deny this, and now I don't accept those things as validity. Dave was never going to convert me. Yes, I'll get you, buddy. It's funny. Sorry, just a side note. I was hanging out with with Tom like a few years ago in Melbourne, and I was like, "Oh, that's such a beautiful church." I was like, "Can we go in the church?" And he's like, "As long as he promises to fucking fight God again." I was like, "Okay, chill out, buddy. I just want to check out this old church." Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Oh, geez, what was I talking about? Oh yes, so I had these spiritual experiences that were one thing. I couldn't reconcile these things. These things were, you know, genuinely changing my thought process, and my depression went away for a short time. Like really transformative, like really made me feel like a better person, made me feel happier, made me feel like I got purpose. But then the second part of that was I was getting all of this really positive feedback, and this took me years to work out. And when I worked it out, it was really fulfilling and heartbreaking at the same time. I realized that I was getting a lot of male fatherly attention from the youth pastor. Like I was all of a sudden an older man, like who I guess I was always chasing after my dad's acceptance, was saying, "You're awesome, you're doing good. Like, do you want to be a leader now? Do you want to preach on Friday night?" Like, and everything I was doing was like this encouraging thing. And it's just so happens that when he went to go pastor a church in Sydney, and I took over the job as a youth pastor, I was put under the position of someone in leadership who didn't have that same. That he was the associate pastor, now the senior pastor of the church, and he was much more of a critic. He was like he never really praised me, never really told me I was doing good. He would just say, you know, you did bad, or like you should be doing this, or can you read this book, and things like that. Kind of funny enough, like what Tom's like when we play first person shooters. He doesn't ever tell me I've done a good job. He just critiques me when I miss the shot. So yeah, fuck you, Tom.
Fuck you, Tom. I don't even know you, Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
Damn it, Tom. No, it's interesting that you say that, because we and I think most folks, especially that walk away from the evangelical, you know, in any, you know, flavor, you know, or whatever of the evangelical movement, we're going to share, you know, certain parallels, you know, and have those commonalities. But I know as a young man, that was one of the things when, you know, to give a very, very quick version. So I grew up in church, and then at about 12, 13, my home life had just become unbearable. So we put out the Leave It to Beaver looking family up front, right? That's what we projected to everybody, that, you know, we're the Cleavers and everything's beautiful and happy, you know, in our home. But what you didn't know is when no one's around and no one's watching, it's literal hell. It's literal hell. And by the time like I said, like 13, I'm like, this is bullshit, man. We're lying to everybody. We're lying to everybody. So from the time I was like 13 to whenever I was in my accident, 22, I think it was, I shared the same position that you did. It's not that I didn't believe in God. I was just doing whatever I wanted to do because nothing made sense of what I was seeing, what I was hearing. And I had my own, experience. And when after that accident that I probably should have died in, and everybody said, well, the only reason you're still here, Oz, is because God has spared you because he has a purpose. He has a reason that you are still here. And I bit that hook, line, and sinker, right? And I'm the type, my personality, I either do it all the way or I don't do it at all. And when I jumped in, and coming from a family line of ministers and pastors and worship pastors, they automatically clung to that because it's like, not only can Oz, speak publicly and can deliver a message, but now he has this story or this testimony that he can share with, out there ripping and running the streets, selling drugs, then drug addiction and all the other dumb shit, that I did. They wanted to use that as a tool to bring more people into the kingdom or into the fold. But one of the things that I clung on to the most that you shared is all of a sudden I had these grown men telling me that they're proud of me and encouraging me and trying to push me, quote unquote, forward. And that was one of the things that, Blayton mentioned it, part of his experience, that becomes addictive when you've not experienced that and you've not heard those things and you don't know what it feels like to get that kind of affirmation and that kind of support. That becomes very addictive, where it's like, well, I want to keep doing the things that cause these people that I look up to be encouraging and loving and promote me, and push me forward. So I love that you said that, because there's so many times, and again, that's a psychological thing that has nothing to do with a God. That has nothing to do with the Holy Spirit. That's all psychology and us looking for those things that we've been missing. Right? And trying to find, yes, Jena, thank you. She said it right. I was going to say, trying to find that validation from a quote unquote father figure. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, I love that you just thanked Jena there, because it seems like you guys work as a really good team. Because like Jena's been like hitting me back with the emails, and it just seems like you guys work really well together, doing this channel and stuff. It's awesome.
She's the much better.
That's my wife is the much better half. But yeah, it's really bizarre. And like even when you like, this is something else I picked up as well. Like when I first went to like a youth group and stuff, like the older adults that you meet are like, "Hey, how you doing, guys? Like, whoa, that was awesome, wicked. Like, oh, that was, that was a full-on experience." Like they were using like these words that I never like heard before. Like, you're 12 years old and you go to this thing, and these guys are like, "Yeah, this is like," they're really excitable and just like, and you kind of like want to like make them proud. And then when you get to that age and you see a young little dude, you're like, "Hey, go on, little dude, like, what's up, man? Like, you come to praise the Lord." Like, I never would talk like that. I don't know where that came from, but you know what I mean? Like you get that, like it's perpetual. It's perpetuant. It's like it's in the system. Like it's, of like people looking up to, yeah,
absolutely. And I don't, I'm gonna use this word, and this is to quote Dr. Yashua Bowen. This is not my area of expertise, but I would imagine or take a guess that in those moments we still get, whether it's that endorphin or like there's some type of chemical or whatever that's like, that's what I was looking for, that's what I needed, just like with with a drug or certain experiences, And when you've spent your entire life wanting to hear that, or chasing or pursuing that, and all of a sudden there's a consistent source of that affirmation, of that support, of that validation. It's like, I don't want to leave this place. I don't want to leave this spot, because I feel good here and I feel appreciated here. And it's awesome for people to find the validation, and to find that. But what's dangerous is when it's hidden behind the cloak of a bad idea or a bad belief, because then they can use that to manipulate and conform you to what they want you to look like and what they want you to behave like. Would you agree, disagree with that?
Oh no, I would agree with that. Someone also in the chat said, "Is every youth pastor in Australia surfer dudes?" Yes, 100% of all. Well, actually, there's a lot of them, but there's also the I don't know what it is now, but back in my day, it was the Under Oath band. Like, it was like the kind of emo fringe tight, like metal pants, like just like that kind of vibe as well. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, and what you said there is pretty interesting too, because I keep saying interesting. Sorry, because eventually it runs out, right? Like eventually, in church, that feeling runs out, and that's when you start getting the messages of like, you got to hold on to God, you've got to push into God, or I need that God experience, and people start chasing that initial high again, I guess, and you start getting like, you start connecting people further and further into the church. I forgot whose book it was, but there was this book that everyone read in leadership in church, and essentially it might have been, I don't know who it was, it might have been from the same guy who wrote Purpose Driven Life. I'm not going to search for it now, but essentially it spoke about, like, you had 5 C's, the 5 C's of, and if anyone knows this in the chat, like, mention it. But if you were in leadership in my area of the world, this is what you'd read. It was like the 5 C's, and it was like, on the outside, you had the community, and that's like the outside part of the church. That's like outreach, things like that. And then underneath that, you had the church, and that was like someone who might come to church once a month. That was like whatever. Then you had the congregation, and they were people who came to church regularly, but they're not like super committed or anything. Then you have the committed, and they're people who attend prayer meetings and church services and men's breakfasts and women's lunches and stuff. And then you had the I think the core, and the core was like the main leadership. And the goal of this person's book, they said the goal of every church should be to get people from the community at least down to the committed. You want to get them into the committed section, because that's where the church truly is. So I can't remember what book it was, but it's essentially that was the way that churches were functioned and ran.
Yeah, it's that was Rick Warren's book, and I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Rick Warren, yeah.
I want to say something about disciplines of a collaborative church. I want to say something like that.
He's got so many books I'm looking up now. The Daniel Plan Cookbook. Oh, geez, I remember.
Oh, the Daniel Fast.
Some of my family still do that.
Just do keto, motherfuckers.
Oh, geez. God's Power. Yeah, he's got a lot of books. It seems.
He writes a book once a month.
Does he really?
Well, really, he just takes the same material and retitles it.
Purpose Driven Life Journal, the Daniel Plan, 40 Days of Love, Meditations on the Purpose Driven Life. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Purpose Driven Youth Ministry. I think that was it. Or Purpose Driven Church. Yeah, Purpose Driven Youth Ministry. It was one of them.
That could be a thing about something else, but I do remember him. He was the originator of the 5 C's.
Just a side note too on we're going to cast shade on these old pastors and stuff. The pastor of Planet Shakers Church in Melbourne, I forgot what his name is. I'm looking it up now. Russell Evans. So Russell and Sam Evans. So Russell Evans released this book that at the time that I was a youth pastor, it was quite old. I had to like find it. And in his book, he mentioned, I'm just trying to find the name of it. I can't find it. Anyway, in his book, and it's hard to find, he mentioned that he broke some statistics down for Australia, and he said the average youth gets this amount of money for food each week. They get this much amount of pocket money, and they're earning this much amount of money. And they said it was something like $90 or whatever. And then he calculated, he's like, so if you have a youth group of 50 to 100 people and they gave all that money to you, you would have this much money. And then he says at the end, how much was your offering last week? Like, as in, like, think bigger. You can get more money from these people. And I remember thinking, like at the time, I remember thinking, like, that seems like slimy. Obviously, I interpreted it with the best faith possible, but yeah, just like dodgy.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
You're wanting to squeeze money out of your youth.
Yeah, and it was. It could be libelous to say this. I'm pretty sure I remember correctly that it was like talking about like money they get for food and stuff. I can't remember. The Youth Ministry Survival Guide. I think pretty sure that's it. How to thrive and last for the long haul. Yeah. Oh no, that's not it. Okay. Well, I'm talking nonsense at this point, but I'm sure I read it in one of his books. But yeah, it's just nuts. Like, it's just nuts.
Yeah, it's because, like, well, why are these pastors so entrenched and that they dig their heels into this prosperity thing? Because, motherfuckers, if we're reading the same book, your riches are stored up in that heaven place. Why are you worried about what's going on here? If you're wanting these fleets of vehicles and mansions and shit up in heaven, like all that money you're making, go and give that to the people that don't have food, that don't have homes, that single moms and single dads, and like go do that, because that just means for eternity you're going to have all of these possessions and all this wealth up in this very.
But Oz, you can't really expect Kenneth Copeland to fly around in a box full of demons like that.
True.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, he needs his own private jet. Because, like, imagine, because sometimes the word of the God hits him and he needs to stand up and praise the Lord at that moment. And it would look weird if he was on a commercial flight. So he needs a private jet. I mean,
Lord,
just to push back a little.
Lord, I apologize.
Hitchens, I'm sorry.
We do have a super sticker real quick. And if y'all know what we do here at Tang, we have a little drink for super chats and super stickers.
Oh, awesome. I've got my iced coffee.
Juice.
Lay back.
With my mind on my. So before no, I'll save that question for the end. So there's the experience, and then there's the validation, and I 100% can connect with and know how someone can cling to that, right, and hold on to that. So then your relationship with God continues and you keep moving forward. And I'm going to assume a lot of the things, like even you standing on a chair at school, and there are probably other things that people within the church saw and said that, you know, David, I really think that you're called to be a pastor, or you're called to be a youth pastor, or, you know, those kind of things. What was it that convinced you that you were to, you know, in one shape or form or the other, be in the ministry? You even took some classes, you know, that you were going to be part of the, you know, pastoral lineup at your church. What was it that that caused you to think or believe that that was the calling on your life?
Well, yeah. So first of all, I never did anything unless I prayed about it first and thought it was God's direction. I used to go push bike riding with my friends and like, going like downhill riding or going like on a bit of an adventure somewhere like through the bush or whatever. And I would pray together. Like I'd get everyone to stand around and would pray that God protected us, that we're having a good day and everything like that stuff. I did everything. So when it came to school, I was not doing very well at school. I didn't see the purpose of knowledge. I even told my younger brother, Lenny, is his name at the time. Lenny, what good's a uni certificate in heaven, mate? Right? And he's like, good point, Dave. I won't go to uni. And now he's at uni. So he always rubs that in my face like I fucked up his life because of that advice. But anyway, I was not doing well at school. I didn't think there was much good reason for knowledge in that regards. I used to preach from the heart. I didn't preach from stories in the Bible either, but I'd read the Bible. And the youth pastor pulled me in once, and he said, "Hey, we're running this internship next year, and it's going to be like a trial run, but we're going to get some people together, and I'm going to be teaching it." And I said, "Oh, interesting." And he had to go get his teacher's license and become an accreditation. And then at that same time, halfway through the year of teaching, sorry, I'm skipping ahead now. Then at that time, my dad was getting really angry at my report cards. I was living with him at the time. I was not doing very well. And I just came to him one day and said, "Dad, I want to quit school. I want to save up for a year. The course costs $3,800. So I wasn't earning a lot back then. I want to save up for a year and I want to pay for this course. And I want to study to become study youth ministry." And I think the fact that I had a plan, like somewhat of a plan, Dad was okay with. And he was initially not okay when I said I just wanted to study youth ministry, but when he found out I was going to quit so I could work full time, so I could study, then he was like, "Okay, all right, you can do that. Like that's a good idea," and he got on board. So I did that, and the ministry started. One of my good mates joined with me. I met one of my other best mates there at Ministry College. His name is Colin. If anyone is interested in his story, it's the first episode of Deep Drinks podcast. He was a closeted homosexual for 45 years. Oh, wow. And went through, never had a partner, never had a boyfriend, never had a girlfriend, nothing. Wow. 45 years. And he tells his story about how he came to accept the fact that he was gay. Well, he always knew he was gay, but he accepted the fact that he wanted to be out. And now he's in a long-term relationship with someone who's living in Washington, D.C. He flies over, they meet up, and he's a happy man now. He's still Christian, so he's still a Christian. So he's a gay Christian. So he's you can listen to his interview. It's a really, really interesting one. But I met him, and yeah, I halfway through ministry college, and I started doing it because I felt God told me to do it. And the youth pastor at the time said he felt God tell him to go down to senior pastor at church in the Central Coast or somewhere around that area. And then he went and got counsel from a bunch of people and didn't tell them what God had told him. And then they also said, "We just feel that God's calling you to somewhere in the Central Coast." And then sure enough, there was this church, part of the same denomination, Christian Outreach Center, now called International Network of Churches, Inc. It needed a pastor, and he went down to pastor that shortly after internship finished. So in that last 6 months, I'm pretty sure I'm getting this right, but in that last 6 months of ministry college, I started to work in more of a youth pastor role. And we had 110 people come to a youth group on a Friday night. So so that's how I kind of got the role. And everyone started calling me YP to be and stuff like that. But the youth pastor job was very short-lived, very, very short-lived, probably 3-6 months or something like that. And that was a whole mess of things. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that was a rough part of my story. But yeah, that's how I got into the ministry and out.
And the one question, because now we'll get to the the spicy part that we all love to talk about is what caused where did the chink in the armor? You know, how did that happen? We'll get there in a second, but I always like to ask this because when I hear, because I made the same claims as a Christian, and I always like to ask this question because you said you always prayed and you always asked, and that you felt like, or God did at that point in your life, you felt like God was telling you that this is what you, David, are supposed to be doing with your life. And then you had someone in a leadership role in your life then confirm that. So it's I guess a two-pronged question. One, when you say you felt like, or you did know that God had told you or was telling you that this is what you're supposed to do, what do you mean by that? Because there are some people that have never held any belief and aren't necessarily atheists that have no idea what you're talking about. And they're the I call them cradle atheists. They've been lucky enough to never be indoctrinated, never be introduced to any of this. They have no idea what we're talking about. So first of all, when you say that, what did that look like, sound like, feel like when you say that? What was that experience? And then now looking back at it and somebody then confirming that, do you believe that that was them continuing to try to help shape you and mold you and groom you into this next youth pastor, or do you believe that they actually felt like they were hearing from God?
Yeah. So the first question, I never heard like an audible voice or anything. I never heard like a booming voice or had a booming. You just tend to start getting this sense, this feeling, this idea, and you start looking for things that line up, right? So if everything starts lining up, it's God, right? And the best way I can describe it is like intuition. And I think as a Pentecostal or charismatic or evangelical who believes in the Spirit and spends a lot of time thinking about the Spirit, you get really good at dealing with that part of your conscious or subconscious mind that feels like intuition. So you start to if you walk into a room and two people have just been having an argument and you feel that, oh, something's been going on here. You can tell there's a sense in the room. I don't think there's like spiritual goblins in the room who will bring down the mojo or anything like that. I think that we just have like unbiased, we just have little biases, and we can little things that we pick up on people's expressions of their faces. The room suddenly goes quiet. Like we just pick up those things. And that's why you can tell that two people have been arguing. And that's why when you walk into a room, sometimes you can if something feels off, or something feels good, or something feels like the right thing. And that is how I would refer to hearing the voice of God. So, but it wasn't like typical intuition. You see, as you get more and more Christianized or more indoctrinated, you start to your beliefs and your ideas start to internally you start to make internal checks to what the Bible says, what you've seen at church, what the Bible teaches. And that's why you can walk up to a Christian and ask them if they're okay with slavery, and they say no. And then when you point out that it was instructed in the Bible, they start freaking out because they've got this internal like thing inside them that says, my church never talks about slavery. My church never talks about this. Like, I'm part of this group, this club, this association, and it's their mind that creates these subconscious things, and they call it the voice of God. And it's also really good because sometimes you'll be wrong, like dead wrong, and then you realize you weren't hearing from the voice of God, and that was okay. So this happened a lot of time when people were getting into relationships. It just feels like a God thing. That's what they always say. It feels like a God thing. It just feels like a God thing.
Yep.
So the second question, do I think I was being groomed? Absolutely not. I think the people who were above me in the church, all the way up to the pastor that fired me and the pastor that is now the senior pastor of the church, I believe wholeheartedly that they thought they were doing the right thing, and that they truly believed that they were hearing from God. And I believe the pastor, the youth pastor, who was a great friend of mine, who went down to senior pastor at church, he truly believed he was hearing from God. He sacrificed so much of his life to go do that. The church fell apart only years after it. He took it over, and I'm sure he has some perspectives about why that happened, or maybe he doesn't have perspectives of why that happened. But I know for a fact that he's fully bought in to it being a real thing, and it's hard because I often hear a lot of people say, church is for the money, or they just want to get your money, or they want your tithe, or they want they want you to be subservient to the leadership and things like that. And I think that for the most part, there are some churches that's obviously the case, right? Obviously the case, like prosperity churches and stuff. But I think for the most part, people are making the best. They're caught up in this like culture, this perpetual thing, and you start making like little things. You start doing little things that are a little bit dishonest, but you're trying to get them to. You believe in the end result so much that you want them to experience it. So a good example is when you go up to get prayer from someone and they're speaking tongues, and they like push on you, right? And they push back on you, right? That's a typical example. I don't think those people are deliberately trying to trick you into feeling the Holy Spirit. I think that they're trying to do something like what Smith Wigglesworth used to do, like punch someone who had cancer. They're trying to shock them into this, into opening up their emotional experience, because the experience is real. Like the experiences people have in churches are real. They people are experiencing them. They're feeling these things. It's changing people's lives. But whether or not those experiences actually relate to what is being talked about from the pulpit is a separate question. People have these experiences, but doesn't mean those experiences are true. Like people have experiences in every religion, but doesn't mean they relate to any type of spirit world or anything. They're just experiences. Like I can have an experience at a Metallica concert, but doesn't mean there are demons coming out of Lars Ulrich's drums, or that. Actually, I had a pastor once tell me that. Have you seen him drum? Oh, he wasn't a pastor. Sorry, he was a small group leader. Have you seen him drum? Something's going on there. He's definitely possessed.
Then y'all, I hope y'all never see me play drums. I look like the devil. Like my tongue's out. Like you would think, oh my God, that is Satan himself playing the drums right now.
Yeah. So just to touch that just briefly, a lot of people, just to finish up with that, a lot of people think that the church is out to just deceive, rip off, distort people. But I think that a better way to frame it is they've bought in on this deceptive worldview. It's helped them. It's actually helped them in some way make sense of the world around them. They have to block off views that counteract that. So especially when you get to things like evolution, young earth creationism, and like that, they have to block out the evolution, and if they were a young earth creationist. But the problem with that is it has nothing to do at all with how true their worldview actually is. You know what I mean? It's like you can be in a cult and have these worldview that the aliens are coming to pick you up, and it could give you a lot of hope that, in 2 years the aliens are coming to grab us and it's all going to be okay. And it might give you a lot of hope and purpose, and you may feel like this great amount of community, but doesn't mean the aliens are actually coming, doesn't mean it's actually true. Absolutely. Yeah, and so I think that's what happens with most churches. I think, just from what I've experienced.
And I think, and we don't have to spend a bunch of time on this, and I think a lot of that is probably culturally, probably the only difference that you and I are going to have is where we've grown up.
Yeah, that's I've heard. Yeah, okay, that might be different, because I have friends who go to the US all the time. That Colin guy, and he says, "Oh, that's American Christianity," and he'll always say American Christianity as if it's like some different thing, like a fake type of Christianity or something.
Yeah, because even talking to you, and then again, shout out to atheist pastor Chris Atwell is from Australia. We've had this conversation. It is very different. It is a very different experience, because here, the majority, let's say, I'll say this in all confidence, the majority of churches that you will walk into here in America, the tithe and offering are the centerpieces of their services and collecting money.
Really?
Oh yeah, and I say that with all confidence. There's nothing in me or about me that will hold back in saying that.
Wow,
and it's
that's interesting.
it's you because again, it's you plant the seed and God brings the harvest. You plant the seed, God brings the harvest over and over again, right? And there's most churches, not all, but most churches, especially in the charismatic evangelical-ish movement, they'll have 2 times during a service that they take money, once at the beginning, once at the end. So what's that tell you about the priorities, right? And what they're doing. So that would be the only difference that I think that you and I would share, and that's just culturally where we've grown up, what we've experienced, and I think that's the norm. Because that's part of religion is where did you grow up? Because like if you and I grew up in Iran or Iraq, we wouldn't be talking about this. We'd be talking about Islam. So it's the same.
I'd have a better beard if I grew up in Iran. I'd have a much better beard, I think.
Yeah,
longer.
Jena tells me I can't grow the long beard. So
you gotta do it. Just push through, Jena. You'll love it eventually. Amy hated mine at the start, and I made the joke like she wouldn't even hug me. Right? Sorry to divert quickly, but she hated my beard. Right? She wouldn't even hug me. Wouldn't even look at me. And then I said to her when we started dating, I said, "Oh, I'm going to grow the beard, and I want to propose to you when I have a beard." And she goes, "No." And I said, "So this could be the beard. This could be the beard. So you don't want me to shave it off?" Because, she was always like, "When are you going to propose me?" And I'm like, "Oh, this could be the beard." So she grew to start liking the beard. And then when I proposed to Amy, I did it in a vineyard and stuff. We were driving back and I go, "Oh, finally I get to shave this beard." And she goes, "No, you can't shave it. You're going to have it for the wedding." And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Yeah, you're going to have it for the wedding." And I've never been able to shave it since. Never.
Oh.
And I made all my groomsmen grow beards.
I see. You're a cool customer. That was well played, sir. Well played. Well played.
But now I'm stuck. I can't shave it off. Like, I want to see how many chins I've got now. Like I don't even know. Like my chin's line. So
there could be 2. There could be 4.
Yeah, exactly.
But
sorry to disrupt there. I just
no. That's what we do here. We disrupt, we distract, we have fun, but we still get to the point. But to that, and then I have one more serious question, and then at the after that I have a more fun one to kind of end our at least our first conversation together. I hope to have more. The one thing I appreciate about what you said is that you do believe that those that were in leadership roles or positions above you, that you believe that they really truly thought that they were doing the right thing, and that they were quote unquote hearing from the Lord or what have you. And I hope that's true, and I hope that's true about those that were in quote unquote leadership positions above me. If not, it just makes it worse, right? But I do appreciate your honesty and your willingness to be honest there, because too many times we throw all of the babies out with all of the bathwater, and we do throw humanity away at the same time, because these are people that, even though we may now find them to be bad ideas or bad beliefs or even bad reasons to hold these bad ideas or bad beliefs, they're still people. And they may genuinely care about you and about myself. And, in my closing presentation or speech, whatever you want to call it, at the Better Conference, I can't control what lens they see life through. I can't control that. They've adopted or put themselves in the position that they see life and they see relationships and they see their experiences through this one singular lens, and that is Christianity. And via indoctrination and now the shame and the guilt and all that is associated with and questioning or doubting it it's highly unlikely that they're going to view me or my situation through any other lens. So the only thing that I can try to do is be charitable and say, no, I don't agree with the lens. I don't agree with how you see things through that lens. But I'm going to try to be as charitable as I can and say that you had my best interest in mind, that you wanted to help me do the best for me the way you saw it through that lens or through those lenses. So I do want to say I appreciate you being honest there and transparent, because a lot of times I hear people, they just write it all off. Like, no, it was all bullshit. They were trying to groom me.
All for the money.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
I
So,
think that because I see some of my friends do this, and I think that the problem with that is you're then not, well, one, I think it's an inaccurate perspective of what's actually going on, but two, you cut yourself off from ever being able to actually get to the bottom of the issue and see why people are like that, and also communicate with people like that. Because if you're just telling them like, well, you're just doing it for the money or whatever, like that, well, it's wrong. And also, like, who's going to like have a good faith conversation with you about that, you know? So yeah, I just like, it's actually irritates me a little bit when people just write everything off. And they did the same with the atheists as well. Like what's the old joke? I'd be an atheist, but I don't like the taste of babies. It's like everyone just thinks that
yeah,
which is this evil, like. And so I sometimes I don't even like to use the word atheist, like, so like, because people go like, they use it as like a club. Are you in the God club or not God club? I just go like, well, I'm not convinced of the existence of God. That's where I'm at, you know. So I'm an atheist, and you are too. So you know.
Yep. And Peter W, I saw your question. That's a great question, and I saved it. We'll come to this. We'll come back to your question after I asked David this, and this will kind of be the last serious question I have. Then we'll answer that, and we'll wrap it up with my funny question. But you know, I watched and listened to your video on this, so I kind of have a good understanding in what went on. But obviously, there's a lot of people here that this is their first time hearing, you know, meeting you, hearing you, and getting to hear your story. What was it that was the first chink in the armor, you know, as far as, okay, why do I believe? Why am I believing? What do I have a good reason?
Like the first doubt?
Yeah.
The first doubt.
The first doubt. And then from there, you know, and you don't have to go, you know, exhaustively through it, but from that first, like that ding, you know, where it's like, ooh, what's that? I've not seen or felt that way before. You know, from that to eventually to the point where it's like, I don't have a good reason to believe. Please take us through that process. Take as long as you want.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's an interesting one. So what happened, I guess, was I started. I mean, this might involve Tom as well. I remember talking to Tom about something, like, we used to climb Mount Coolum. I talked to him about stuff, and I was like explaining something, and then he just said, "Oh yeah, or just natural selection," and it just made so much more sense to just, you know, posit whatever I was talking about evolution. Cut to a few months later, I had a friend who was over, and he was like, we were drinking, and he was kind of talking to me about Christianity, and he said, you know, I said, well, evolution is just a theory, and then he like picked up a bottle and like dropped it onto the bed, a water bottle, and like, he's like, gravity is just a theory, and I was like, well, yeah, well, whatever. So there was those like kind of little chinks of like, maybe I should look into the evolution thing, right? So I remember coming across the Ken Ham versus Bill Nye debate, and through the whole debate, I was still quite indoctrinated in the Christian faith, and I actually thought Ken Ham had some good points, which is bizarre, because now I look back at it and I'm like, what was I thinking? But at the end, something really hit me. And it's something I always ask people at the end of the Deep Drinks podcast. And that is, the person hosting said, ask Bill Nye and Ken Ham, what, if anything, would change your mind? And the thing that Bill Nye said is, any evidence, just one piece of evidence. We need a fish to swim to a different layer that would throw out all the geologic column. We would need evidence that stars are really not 13.8 billion light years away, and that somehow speed of light can speed up. We would need evidence that he's like, bring any evidence at all, and you would change me and the whole scientific community in a second. Obviously, you'd have to prove it, but like, you know, peer review it and all that stuff. And I was like, wow, good answer. And Ken Ham said, he choked back his words and said, well, I'm a Christian, and I admit that's where I start from. And as soon as he said that, something inside me was like, whoa. And I was like, why is the non-Christian being more intellectually honest than the Christian? And I was like, this is weird. This is like spitting me out. So those were the first chinks. And then what I did was that kind of like wrestled with me for a little bit. And then I remember at one stage Googling, it might have been before that debate or after that debate, can you believe in an old earth and be a Christian? And I run into Michael Jones's video. He was the second guest on the Deep Drinks podcast. And that put me at ease. I felt, I can be an old earth person, you know, whatever. Anyway, the point is, I started looking into evolution and creationism, and I created this document called The Objective Truth of Origins. And I was going to be as objective as possible. I wrote out a mission statement for it. It's now up to like 32 pages of like, I would look at like peer-reviewed sources. I would try to understand like scientific studies. I'd have to Google every second word. It would take me ages. And I went through like line after line of like evidence, and I eventually got to the point where there was just absolutely no way creationism, in my view, young earth creationism could be viable at all. But before I got to that stage, when I was starting the document, I was being and like I said before, I'm really like, I've got a psychologist who says that I've got issues with being too honest. Like I get really uneasy with lies. I don't know what it is. Anyway, it comes through in how I approach things as well. And so I was looking at like, how do I honestly evaluate the evidence? I know it's going to lead to God, but how do I honestly evaluate this evidence without removing as much bias as possible? And I realized that I couldn't go into the evidence, looking at the evidence as a Christian. I had to look at the evidence. I couldn't go into the evidence with the assumptions of a Christian, or the assumptions of an Australian, or the assumptions of like a white dude, or the assumptions of like anything. I had to try and remove as much of my presuppositions and biases as possible, look at what the data says, and then evaluate it for what it is. And when I did that, when I removed this like helmets of Christianity, I call it, like I removed my God glasses, I put them to the side, I looked at the data, and then I put my glasses and my God helmet back on. When I did that, I noticed some cracks, and I would never have noticed those cracks if I was still trying to protect my faith. And I love what Thomas Westbrook said in the interview that's being premiered after this. He said, truth withstands scrutiny. And that's exactly what I was trying to do. And what happened is I kept looking at the evidence. I kept taking off my presuppositions, looking at the evidence, going, there's a little bit of a crack there. That doesn't really work with what the Bible says. Okay, that's okay. I'm still a Christian. Put my hat back on, like put my God glass back on. That's okay. And I kept doing that over and over and over and over again. And eventually I'm like standing at the bottom of this like canyon that's like as big as the Grand Canyon. The crack's grown so big, and I'm going like, what the fuck? Like, how did I not notice this huge hole? Like, this is reconcilable. Like, this is crazy. I have just to give people some context. I have a YouTube channel where I spoke to some people from Australia Zoo who were experts on koalas, and they, you know, I was like, okay, well, you know, they take care of koalas. Someone I live with takes care of koalas every day for their job, and they go leaf hunting. So they go around picking specific leaves, and they go leaf shopping. So they bring them around and they smell the type of leaf they want and they eat it, because koalas are so picky with the type of leaf that they eat from a particular type of eucalyptus tree, and how far up those leaves are, how young those leaves are, how dry those leaves are, that they will literally choose to die in the tree than to eat leaves they don't want to eat. They'll literally choose to die in the tree before they choose leaves they're going to eat. And someone on my YouTube channel commented this morning, Yes. On Noah's Ark, they floated around for a year on little little logs, and that's how they got to and from Australia. They floated from the Middle East all the way back to Australia on logs after a global flood. And it's like, okay, if you call that reconcilable, fine, but I don't think that's an honest way to view the world. So that was the chink in the armor, and that was eventually I started investigating that, and then investigating science, and eventually I became like an old Earth creationist, and then eventually I started using the tools of the scientific method to evaluate everything. Well, when I pray, how do I know that prayer is working? And I've got some interesting stories about like how I tested that as well. But yeah, that's the short synopsis.
Rookie mistake. That wasn't supposed to pop me up. Sorry.
I actually, just to touch on the prayer thing, I used to have a really bad anxiety disorder when I was more Christian, funny enough. And I remember being really anxious one night, and I would reach out to friends on Facebook and tell them to pray. This was a common thing. But this time I thought, you know what? I'm going to pray. I'm going to ask God that tomorrow when I wake up, this anxiety will be gone. And then just before I went to pray, I went, whoa, and I went, stop. And I said, let's test this. I'm going to pray to myself. Or it might have been a jug of milk. But I was like, I'm going to pray to something inanimate. So I said, I think I prayed to myself. And I said, David, I pray that tomorrow morning, David, that you make sure that I wake up without anxiety. And the next day, I woke up without any anxiety. I was feeling so good. Those days you just wake up and everything just feels better. And I forgot about the prayer and everything to myself. It was just a little passing thing I did. But halfway through the day, I was like, why do I feel so good today? I got so much energy. I'm feeling so good. And then I remembered I prayed to myself. And I thought, if I prayed to God then, that would have been confirmation that God had healed me overnight of my anxiety, but I prayed to myself. So I was like, okay, so I would do things. I would try and be as honest as I could with my worldview. Yeah.
Yeah. # David is God. He answers more prayers than
David is God. Oh, jeez. Heathen Queen. Phew. I just saw her in the comments.
Heathen Queen's in the house.
She was a guest on Deep Drinks as well, and she was a fun one. Holy, we got drunk in that one.
Yeah, Heathen. Yeah, anytime you can have drinks and talk with Heathen Queen, it's bound to be a good time. Jen and I both have come to know Heathen Queen more and more in the last month, 2 months or whatever, and we appreciate her. Not just her fiery, disposition and the way she attacks bullshit. We love that. But she's also a great friend. So yeah, all the love, and
the lead pipe of accountability is what I refer to her as.
Heathen Queen says she is God.
I am God.
The one thing you said, you use different words for it, but it used to be in our Discord when you would click in to become a member or whatever. The headline was "Truth does not fear investigation."
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So good.
That's one of the things that I've held on to that I heard or learned like very early in my deconstruction process is, if you or I, David, no matter what it is, if we are going to claim absolute truth, which is what Christianity does, if we're going to claim absolute truth and absolute knowledge, why do you fear? Why do you dodge? Why do you run away from the investigation? Because if it is absolutely true, you would open up all the books. Here's all of the evidence. Here's all of the reasons. But they fear that. They fear that. They don't want that. They don't want people pushing back. They want people to just be, I call them bobbleheads. Yes, Pastor. Yes, Pastor. Preach it, preacher. And that's where it's dangerous. And that's where there is that fine line between like what we're talking about now and the I would say, especially here in America, the very, very few that aren't skewed by wanting to manipulate and wanting to deceive. And that's where it's, you don't know who you're dealing with and who you're not dealing with, and who you can trust and who you can't trust. And again, culturally, I understand that those could be huge differences. You know, but that's where, at least for those of us in the States, it's a constant dilemma where it's like, but I don't know if I can trust you, because 90% of the people that buy into and prescribe to what you do are out to, they're predators. They're essentially predators, you know, and out to take advantage of those that are looking and searching for something, and then they're going to prey upon those vulnerabilities, so to speak. So before I get to my fun question, I want to go back to this, because I will say I was the first one. I said, you know, use the term Christian lens or lenses, and then I think I have to think about it. I think I might like the helmet better, because it sounds, it just sounds more fun. But the Christian helmet, or the God.
It's biblical, right?
Yeah.
Breastplate of righteousness and the helmet of truth, or whatever. Yeah.
Put that shit on. But you know, you and then you referenced even Dillahunty with the God goggles. I think he originated that. But we did have a question earlier, and since I was the first one to bring it up, I'll take the punishment on this and answer first, and then you can go. If not a Christian lens, what word best describes the lens you use? And if it's just a word, reality. That's all I have. That's the only lens that I know to use, is my reality, and what I see, what I experience, what I feel. And at this point, there's no God interjecting itself or showing up or demonstrating that it's real or relevant or that it exists. So my lens is just my reality. That's it.
That's a good one. Okay. So if it had to be a word, what word best describes the lens I use? I'm kind of cheating. I'm gonna say dissonance, right? Like, I experience cognitive dissonance every fucking day. I push into cognitive dissonance like a good workout. Someone tells me they saw aliens. I investigate it. I push into that dissonance. Okay, you saw aliens. Tell me about it. Like, how do we know? Dissonance might be a word. Another word I might use is a form of like scientific skepticism. It's not a word. It's two words again. But essentially, I try and approach the world, my lens, with the same skepticism and the scientific method that I do with that science does. I'm not perfect, but I try to. A friend of mine says my friend of mine is an anti-vaxxer, right? And he says he's not an anti-vaxxer, but he doesn't get any vaccines. So I don't know why I don't know why they don't like the label anymore, but they don't. But he's an anti-vaxxer, and he says, don't you go? He doesn't believe in any of the data, and he goes, don't you follow your gut feelings with anything? And I go, no, I don't. I actively, like, if I'm making love to my beautiful wife, I'm not getting a spreadsheet out. I'm going with my feelings there. You know what I mean? Or if I'm choosing between what pastry I want to get at the bakery, I'm using my feelings there. But in regards to like investigating epistemology, the natural world, and things like, or anything at all, I'm going with into that with skepticism, with analyzing the data, with knowing that I can be deceived, that my senses can be deceived. And one of the scariest things that I've ever dealt with is that I still deal with today is, at one point I would have died for my faith because I was so sure it was accurate. And it keeps me up at night wondering if my current worldview is the same, and that in 10 years' time, I'm going to be a shaved head, monk wearing orange robes, living in India, going, "Wow, I was so deceived back then." That scares me. So so the word I would use to say the lens I use is dissonance. Got to make that love with a spreadsheet. Yeah, that's so true. Oh, honey, it says Tuesdays it's black lingerie. Let me get my little G-string on. So
yeah, when Jena came to Fort Wayne for better, all of a sudden there was an Excel spreadsheet that she printed and put up on the wall, and I was like, oh.
Yes,
we now have spreadsheet formulas on this shit. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like you're like, whoa, 15 minutes for foreplay? Well, usually 30 seconds is fine, right? Like,
oh, and as soon as the 15 minutes went up, the iPhone went off.
Oh, jeez. Good fun. Close Excel bitch.
He'll be airing out my kinks.
Talon said, David using that protractor to get the ankles right. Yeah, man. I'm still learning.
Get the string out the mark.
Oh, sometimes my analogies are fucking weird. I will say. I will say that.
Heathen Queen says, "Close Excel, bitch." All right. So before we wrap up, we'll end it with some fun shit. So. I've come to understand that you're a bit of a either hip hop fan or hip hop head. Is that
I like a bit of metal. I like a bit of hip hop. Like the Game, Dre, Tupac, 50 Cent, Biggie. I like Snoop Dogg, West Coast stuff, East Coast stuff. Nas.
You said oh okay, so, yeah. Because at first I was like, well, you said Biggie, that's not West Coast. But okay, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. East Coast. Like, what I mean is like some of the old school stuff. Like even like Nas, Chris One, I think it is. There's his Beef song. Beef, what a relief. And I don't know. Anyway. I like rap, yes. Jay-Z, yes. Jay-Z is good too. Yes. I like hip hop. Yeah.
No Wu-Tang in there? No Wu-Tang mentioned?
Do you know what? I've never got into Wu-Tang, although I do like a few of their songs. But I never grew up with them. I'm sorry, I never grew up with them. I liked them, but I just haven't given them the time of day. Like
Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
Yeah, it's awesome. Was it Michael Shkreli or Martin Shkreli has like their disc, their one release disc? Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could just hear one thing off of that, like gold disc, whatever it was that they sold. Just so I could say I heard it.
Yeah, it'd be so cool. Hey.
Well, the reason I ask is because I don't know if this is true or not, but someone said that you were wanting to challenge me in a freestyle battle. Is that accurate?
No, absolutely fucking not. Who said that? I am so shit at freestyle. I am so shit at freestyle. I'm so shit. Oh, fuck.
I don't remember who said it, who brought it up, and I was like, oh, well, at the end of the stream, we'll just have to see. We can cook up in the kitchen.
No, is this something to do with everyone, or is this just a me thing? Because this is
a you thing. Somebody said that about you.
Fuck, who said this?
I don't remember, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna remember this.
Oh, fucking hell. I'm so bad at freestyle. Like I honestly am so bad.
All right, I won't put you on the spot. Then you're being honest, but somebody and I don't even, because we do so many streams, I don't even know which one to go back to. But somebody was like, "Hey, Oz, David said he's about to smash you in a freestyle battle."
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
And I was like, "Word, let's get it."
You know what? Like maybe next time, maybe when I come on, I'll get some practice in, and I'll come and freestyle you.
Cool. Yeah,
we could do like a joint freestyle debate. We debate some Christians.
We have the.
Oh, it was me, Jena. What the fuck?
In all honesty, I couldn't remember who it was, but now that stirring the pot.
Look, man, if you want to put some beats on and we can try, like, I mean, like, I know the audience is going to love the cringe, and I can do my best, but I honestly, like, I'm not.
Give me a hot second. Just give me a hot second. And while I do this,
I'm probably not going to be able to come up with anything, but I'll try.
I would do this. I will. I'll pull this up while I look up the music, and David can talk about his channel one more time here. But let me share this screen. So, David, I pulled up that this is David's YouTube channel, and as we do this, I expect everyone to go hit that subscribe button. Let's try to get David as close to that 700 mark as we can.
Oh, jeez.
So go ahead and tell everybody about your channel while I pull up some music.
Actually, something I did want to shout out as well as my channel is my Deep Drinks channel. So I recently moved Deep Drinks podcast off my main channel onto its own channel because I think some of my videos were scaring some of my Christian guests off because I was, obviously tearing apart Christianity. But I still want to have good conversations with Christians. So if anyone could subscribe to my Deep Drinks channel, that would be even better because I'm only at 60 subscribers, and it's really embarrassing when I'm like, hey, come onto my podcast, amazing person, and they're like, look at my channel and it's 60 subscribers, and I don't even have my own URL yet, and I'm like, oh, help. So yeah, I'll put the link in the link is in the chat. Actually, the link is already there. Jena already put it in there. So and I will say Holy Kool-Aid's video is coming up in 4 minutes. So
all right, so we got 4 minutes to freestyle. Let me pull this up.
Yeah,
let me get it because I already know what beat to go to because it's easy to find it. Where'd you go?
Oh, thank you, Aaron. Aaron subbed. Thank you. The Hidden Queen said subscribe to his Deep Throat channel. I'll deep throat this microphone if I get to 100 subscribers by the end of this at the end of I don't know. If I get to 100 subscribers, I'll deep throat the chat. I'll deep throat this thing on next time I come on this.
All right, there you go.
Oh fuck.
Oh fuck, he said.
I'm trying to get into. All right, you gonna go?
Oh, I thought you said you're going first. So let me restart.
Oh no, you go first. Yeah, you go first. I gotta know what I'm up against. I'm probably not gonna be able to forge this. It's gonna be so cringe.
Yeah, I'm here with David, so underrated, and you can hate it when we do it, but separated. Just know that we do it, and yeah, this is my dude from Australia. Now we mate, that's my mate, and we rolling now. Yeah, we some atheists. Fuck your God, fuck your notions. Yeah, and drink your potions. This is what we doing. Yeah. And fuck all of the emotions when we break down the truth. You can open up your book, but there's still no evidence that makes it relevant. Nah, so let's get it. Put up your defenses. It doesn't matter why, because I'm like Mike Tyson. Fight night, I'm quite nice. You don't want it, I'll break that jaw, motherfucker. Get it.
All right. Just wait for the beat to come back. Here we go. All right, hang on. Yo. I'm here with Tang Gang. We don't do thing. We are pretty gang. I'm here with Oz. I just live in Oz. Fuck! Not so bad. Hidden Queen's a bitch. She called me one before, so fuck you. I don't know, man. I'm so cringe. All right.
David McDonald showed up. Now he got crippled. Now we take him to the Ronald McDonald house. You know what that means. He done got hurt. Guess what? This is what we do. But guess what? We still all just return to the dirt. So don't worry about it, David. This is what we do. Turn the page. It's okay. Forget this shit ever happened, man. Let it go away, slip away. And we won't share this with any of your friends. I promise that would be a sin.
This is going to be clipped. Oh, God. I was so not ready for that at all. Hidden Queen, I love you. We had this awesome video together where we literally just roasted who's that pastor? Hidden Queen. Quick, who's the pastor? Oh damn it, but we roasted this pastor together. It was really good. Greg Locke. That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
he was
the midget man. He's a midget.
Yeah, the midget man.
He's a midget in real life, and he's a mental midget.
Yeah, that's it. And that was the funniest stuff we ever did together. We watched his like book burning where someone threw a Bible in there. It was like, "Hail Satan" and stuff. It's great.
Here's my favorite pastor, doctor, prophet, Locke impression that I could possibly give. It doesn't matter, saints. You can come. We're not shutting our church down. The vaccine is bullshit. The vaccine is bullshit. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter. And fuck Trump. Fuck Trump. He doesn't know what he's saying anymore. I know I backed him for like 40 years, but he doesn't know what he's saying anymore. It's God, and now there's witches. There's witches in the church.
Oh,
now the witches are the children. The children are witches in our church. Kick their asses. Amen.
Oh geez, I'm still working on my my Kent Hovind impersonation, and I have this idea because I know that he doesn't go on the internet, but I have this idea. I want to debate him, but I want to be impersonating him the whole time and him not realize. So, the Book of Evolution says that we came from rocks, and we and just try real hard to be a Kent Hovind ripoff. Also. Shout out to Dr. Josh. You need to go check out Not Kent Hovind on TikTok. It is the best. Honestly, it's the best thing you'll ever see on the internet.
Have you seen the video where I interviewed the Dr. Josh / Dr. Hovind character at Better?
No. Oh, that's so good.
Real quick. I'm going to pull this up really because I know you got some shit to do, but this shit is priceless and it's worth the price of admission. I love dead air.
Josh's hashtag sleep.
Here it is. Oh, that's not what I want to do. There we go. Share screen. Oh, wrong screen shared.
Oh, I just checked the Deep Drinks podcast channel. We have gone up some subscribers. Thank you, everyone. That is so good. I'll put the I'll drop the link in the chat. The latest video. I don't know if that actually pops up, but
can't hold it. Doctor can't hold it.
oh,
really important work. Hi, my name's Dr. Kent Tobin, and you think I'm kidding? That's how I did it.
The name of that online university?
Well, it's Harvard, I think. But it's a good one.
Hardford?
Listen, Oz, I don't have a lot of time to explain these very complicated things to you.
Dinosaur and Dragon Week last weekend. How was that?
Yeah, it was excellent. Because
Careful, Dr. Hogan, we cannot pay you.
sorry, I didn't get my video series.
All right, we have a question.
that's awesome.
Hello, Doctor. That's a valid title for you.
That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, so for those, we can get you a link for it. You can watch the entire, because it is hilarious. And then at the end, none other than Godless Engineer, but Bro Cephas shows up.
No. Oh, I gotta watch that. I really have to go because I got a doctor appointment with my wife. Yep. Little secret, we might be having we might be having our first little baby soon. So this is the first time I'm announcing it on the internet. So this is an exclusive. IVF worked, so we're excited. So yeah, I've got to go to the appointment to check that out. Everything about that.
Do you have like literally like 30 seconds for me to put a drink in my empty glass so we can cheers and then
Yeah.
All right, give me one.
Absolutely. I'm gonna get a drink as well.
All right. So gang, you know what we do. We want to do so. Possible congratulations. Hopeful. All the probable congratulations. Oh, and a puppy dog. No, that's not a puppy. A dog.
Yeah, he's one. His name is Manny. Manuel. Hello, Manny. Yeah.
What up, Manny? So
we just got him a couple weeks ago.
Man, a new dog, and there might be a pregnancy.
Maybe.
You're setting yourself up. But Tang Gang, you know what we do. Congratulations.
I got water.
And my money on my mind. Well, yes, and I did know that, and we went way longer than I assumed, but it was a great conversation. And David, I hope we get to talk again and hang out. You're an awesome guest. Thank you. And anything you ever need from myself, from Tang, just let us know. We're here to help. Anything you want to say as we close out?
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been an awesome conversation. I knew it was going to be fun, but this is way funner than I thought. And we'll have to have you on Deep Drinks one time, because I'm sure that'll be even funner. Or maybe because we'll be drinking, or I'll be drinking. But yeah, if everyone right now, I've got a video premiering. If everyone wants to kick over to Deep Drinks, that'd be awesome as well. And we've got 3 people watching, and my subscribers have gone up, so I'm stoked. So thanks, guys, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And Jena, baby, if you could put that link to that to his premiere in there, and as we wrap up, everybody go jump over there and support David. Thanks again, and everybody else.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll holla.
Awesome.
Yeah. This is for all you non-philosophizing black sheep, unwelcome, pushed to the side motherfuckers like me.
Fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way. Let's get down to business. These bitches got glitches. And you thought you'd dismiss us? Nah. Now I'm laughing in stitches. See, the problem be, it'll be a tragic travesty to come after me. So just know this is how we get down. Respect that shit like a pronoun, bitch. Yeah, fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah, and fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah, fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah, fuck what they say. Tang Gang, Atheist Your Way.